Hello and welcome to another impromptu episode of the Shakedown, the driver ratings edition. How are you doing, Shez? It doesn't matter how you're doing because there are very many driver ratings threads at which we will need to pull. Shall we get straight in, Shezinho, aka the A side? Shall we go?
I don't know why this is impromptu. Like I was expecting to do driver ratings after the race. To be fair,
How very dare you, Grice's raising it? Like, mate, like
every week.
This is saloon semantics. Charles Edward Cheese, you're a legend in the first instance of the first order priority. Sup, come and chat. Sadly, it's all going to end in tears for McLaren drivers and Hamilton stands, fans, and evangelists alike that Max Verstappen will be forced soon to be five-time champion after driving away from the OJP and Lando first 10 collision. Oh, the humanity, Charles. Like, genuinely, we can't hope for that. Go on then, Shezinho. do you want to roll into? We're going to go in reverse finishing order, and that means that I think we need to talk about Nico Hülkenberg in the first instance. Ladies first.
Go on then.
Let's go. Go on then. I've given Nico Hülkenberg a 6, if only because I can't adjudicate properly for the incident that he had with Pierre Gasly. I don't know whether it's a racing incident or it was Hülkenberg's fault or it was Pierre Gasly. I feel like Hülkenberg could have given ever so slightly a wider berth because you've got to know there. You've got to, I don't know, I think you've got to have a bit more. He's got all the spatial awareness of my missus, who's failed her driving test about 10,000 gazillion times. I think you've just got to give a little bit more space, haven't you, there? So I've got to give Nico Hülkenberg a 6, if only because of the bloody incident with the one that they call Pierre Gasly. But aside from that, mate, not bad from Nico. He wasn't too, qualified 11th. That's probably about where we should be, right? That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Shez 6.
I can't believe you tried to rate your wife in that. That's wow. Brave. You're a brave man.
When you say rate my wife, to be precise with language, Shez, you mean rate my wife's driving.
That's obviously. What else would anyone else take from that?
I just needed to be precise with my language for a second, Shez. Yeah, forgive me for Grice's razoring you this time, sir.
Touche.
Go on.
7. I want to give him a 7. Look, I take your point. I actually probably would give him the sort of what do you call less than the lion's share, like the kitty's share of the blame for the Gasly incident. But I feel like I should give him an extra mark back for making an uninteresting race more interesting. But anyway, I think just around the outside, he didn't quite get ahead of the front axle, did he? And if we're going to use the guidelines, and then churlishly complained about it over the radio as well, that he should have got more space. But the 7 is really for the fact that he completely outpaced his teammate in Grand Prix qualifying, even if he got out qualified in sprint, even before Bortoletto copped the 5-place grid penalty, and he did a bit of overtaking in the first couple of laps, taking out. Well, he took out Pierre Gasly, but no, he did get past Charles Leclerc, didn't he, in the first few laps, which I thought was a good move, considering that Charles, even in a slightly dodgy Ferrari, is not an easy person to get past. But he drops any further. He fails to gain any further marks from me. Because I think he's probably a bit more to blame for the incident.
Ollie Behrman, talk to me, sir.
Ooh, Ollie. I want to give Ollie an 8. I quite like Ollie. I think he has done a lot with that car versus Esteban Ocon this weekend, and the reason he was DNF'd in the end wasn't really his fault. So it's short and sweet on that one. I thought he did as much as he could do. 8 out of 10.
Giving him an 8, that sounds generous to me, chap. I'm not going to lie to you.
Tell me why.
8. Okay, so he was on for a points finish, but for the calamity that happened in the pits. But what's more than that? He's been finishing 6th Do you know what I mean? Outperforming materially that Haas, and if you judge him against that backdrop, a cheeky 10th position, 8. I think you're being generous, chap.
Ocon finished 15th and a lap down.
Yeah, I mean, but when we come to Ocon's ratings, you got to be hard. I can't give him an 8. I'd love to, but you're infinitely more generous than me, sir. I think in giving that chap a 7. I think I've been quite generous as well. Like,
you giving him a 7? Okay. I thought you were going to tell me you're giving him a 4 or something.
No, well, on a different day, if I hadn't had my Weetabix this morning, I maybe. Listen, ultimately, he nails Ocon and gets into Q2, right? So I can't, and then I can't hate. 7. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, okay. I'd accept a 7 as well. I think that's probably okay, isn't it?
Especially if you normalise for the incident, and he would have got a point. I'll go for 7. 8.
Yeah.
You're having a laugh, chap. Hajar, do I go first? Are we doing ladies first again, Shez?
I don't mind. Do you want me to go first?
I mean,
sure. Okay. All right. So Isaac, I'm going to give him an 8 as well, which again probably you're going to look at my Ollie Behrman rating and go that's way too high then. But Hajar I think gets a really good 8, really good 8. He outqualified Lawson in Q2, but not by a massive amount. It was just under a tenth. He outqualified him, but then rocks up 6th in Grand Prix qualifying. Like, that boy just manages to do more with less every single weekend, and it looks like it's earned him a promotion. Am I right? Or is that still rumor?
No, it's not rumour, mate. It's been bloody headline news since Ted Kravitz broke it, but whatever. I digress.
And I think Hajar got it as high up the grid as he could. Like, he outqualified a Ferrari in that Racing Bulls, and then on top of that, once all the pit stops had panned out and George Russell had finished flaking his lap 1, he held off Russell for the entirety of the Grand Prix, pretty much. It was only he was sort of the first person in the first carriage of the Alonso train, wasn't he? I think he did the best that he could in that car. He had the best position he could possibly be in, and once the opportunity came to him, he kept Russell behind. He got past Alonso after Alonso spun, but for a unlucky puncture, which I think he tried to mitigate against as well, he would have done better. He would have probably finished 6th, wouldn't he? So I am going to give him an 8, a very good 8.
Concur, it's a good mark there. I'd give him an 8 as well. Listen, congratulations, Isaac Hajar. You've sealed your fate, taking that second seat at Oracle, the poison chalice of a second seat that is Oracle Red Bull Racing. Safak, by the way, says, what if Max is P1 and Oscar is P3 and Lando is P4? Will they ask Oscar to swap? We'll get, I promise you, we'll preview it all, Safak. It's going to get techier.
Yeah, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
Before we move on, though, Cameron, can I just a very quick aside?
Of course.
How do you pronounce his first name?
I've been told it's Isaac.
But by who?
I think Clarkson does it, Isaac.
Oh, right.
And Clarkson's normally
he's Algerian descent, isn't he?
Isaac. Yeah, maybe it's Isaac. Maybe it's
that's what I think. My wife says stop calling him Isaac. She says call him Isaac. Isaac.
Maybe I'm being culturally insensitive then, Shez.
No, maybe we both are.
Isaac.
I don't know.
Isaac. I'll go Isaac then until further notice, or maybe I'll just say Hajar and pretend as if.
Because we're always at school, right?
Line of least resistance, chat. Go on then. As far as that's Isaac, look at that, got caught. As far as Hajar's concerned, I'll give him an 8 as well. I think, but listen, if I knew for a fact that he caused that mess to happen, that damage, and I'd give him a 6. But I don't know, chap. Did that thing just happen to his car? Did the piece just spontaneously combust?
I think what I'm reading is that he had a wheel hub issue. Like, the hub caused the puncture, and he was doing what he could to prevent a puncture by staying off the curbs and stuff, but it didn't quite work out, and did in fact get a puncture towards the end of the race.
You know what? I can't give him an 8, mate. He made mistakes in quali, didn't he? Do you remember? He made a couple. He flopped his final lap in quali.
He ended up 6th, man.
I don't care.
How much higher up was he going to end up?
I don't care. I don't care. Mistakes are mistakes are mistakes. Shez, we can't.
Wow.
7, cha.
Harsh Cameron comes
If you
out
make
again.
cometh the hour, cometh the man. If you make mistakes in the scary hours, like the fourth quarter, what do you expect me in quali? What do you expect from me, sir? No, I'm giving him a 7. Go on then, Lance Stroll.
I think Lawrence might have been better this race, to be fair. I've given Lance a 3. I think I'm being generous, to be fair. What did he do? He qualified all but last, only ahead of Franco Colapinto. Was just like miles off Alonso's pace, like every single session. Like while Alonso was heading the train, he was off trying to do like alternate strategies and ended up out of the race. That was not a good showing for Stroll, and it's just a little bit disappointing because actually he was quite good in Vegas, wasn't he? But it didn't really seem to work out here, and there wasn't like a good reason for why he was so off the pace, other than the fact that he's not Fernando. 3.
I've given Lance again, mate. I don't know why you say Jenna. I this dude should have got a 0 for me if I'm on it. I've given him a 2 because I'm feeling that it's Christmas. Shez, I'm feeling generous. Do you know what I mean? Yuletide and the rest of it. Here's my notes. Listen, where's he qualified, Shez? 19th.
Second to last.
19th.
Yeah.
19th. And Alonso's put it in what? P8.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Half a second slower than your teammate. No. He's then we have a problem. Finishes 17th as versus Alonso's 7th. 10 places down from your teammate in the same car. The only thing left to say, therefore, Shez, is a typical Game of Thrones. Mention no names, Cersei. Shame. This is not good enough, Lance Stroll. And you're the dude who Adrian knew was going to build a rocket ship for next year. You're having a laugh, aren't you? I demote this. That 2 is far too generous. I'm giving that dude a 0. It's not. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Right, he's far too experienced for me to indulge this chap in this nonsense. Lance Stroll, 2. Pierre Gasly, talk to me, sir.
Yeah, Gasly interesting, wasn't he? He ended up as far back as he did because of the incident.
Chaos.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't really blame him for where he finished. But I'm going to give him a 7. The reason for that is he made massive progress with that car over the course of the weekend. He qualified on the back row alongside his teammate for sprint quali. And where Franco, after, you remember they did that little practice qualifying run at the end of the sprint race, where they both strapped on some softs. That seemed to work wonders for Gasly, who qualified in the top 10, where Franco Colapinto qualified dead last again. So he qualified dead last for both in both competitive qualifying sessions. And Gasly was up there, I think 9th, was he? 9th? He qualified just ahead of Leclerc.
Yes,
he did. Yeah,
sandwich between Alonso and Leclerc.
Yeah, and I think if he hadn't got into that altercation with Hulkenberg, and I'm not going to call it him being completely clobbered by Hulkenberg, because I think he had a part to play in it. He would have done better, and that's why he gets a 7 from me. Good qualifying. Race was compromised by something that was potentially avoidable, even if I think it was probably the other guy's fault.
He was good in qualifying. I don't hate the night from Pierre Gasly. Chap, the more that as I look at that incident again in front of me, I don't know. To be fair, he's at the limit of his traction. He's got nowhere to go, has he? But. Oh, don't know. Why do I want to dock Pierre Gasly points? No, he's done all right as Pierre. I won't be too slack to him. I'll give him a 6. I'll give
Oh, a
him a 6.
6.
A participation prize. Fell foul of circumstances with Hulkenberg, and he would have been. He could have been further down the road. I don't know if points were in the offing for the chap, but for me to give him any, it's Qatar, isn't it, Shez? Where do we expect this dude to go in an Alpine, even if he didn't have the Hulkenberg so that you can't overtake around the
Well,
circle?
that's why I'm giving him a 7. I think a
Yeah,
seven's quite.
maybe. Go on, I'll go along with your 7. Then talk to me about Esteban Ocon, chap.
Ocon, yeah, just given our prior conversation about Ollie Behrman, I've given him a 5. Just there was like for his level of experience, um, he just should have done better in quali. Just to put that into context, yeah. Behrman qualified 13th in Q2, couldn't quite get into Q3 as he has done previously, but Ocon couldn't get out of Q1. He qualified 17th. And that, unfortunately for me, is a bit of a gap. And I know I keep talking about the fact that I have to look at this as a snapshot. You'd have to think that Ocon with a bit more experience in F1 in this generation of cars should have done better with what he had underneath him, and he didn't. So he gets 5. But otherwise, I can't blame him necessarily for the pit stop blunder. That he was the only other driver other than the McLarens that didn't come in for a pit stop on lap 7. Am I right? I think I think that's right.
Mate, that's
He
a
then
spot
came
to be
in.
fair.
He then came in for a pit stop like a lap later, which is inexplicable to me.
Oh yeah,
Um,
you are right. He came in on lap 8. His first tyres were mediums, and he came in
yeah,
on what? He came in on lap 8 and did hards for 1 lap. What's that about? Anyway, whatever. I don't know.
so 5. Yeah, he gets 5.
Don't hate it. I will give him a 5 also. If you get up, listen, all I know is this. If you're in a Haas and you drop out of qualifying in both the sprint and the Grand Prix proper in Q1, I think you might want to have, and you're Esteban Ocon with the amount of experience that dude has, and you're getting roundly outperformed by a rookie teammate. I think you need to have words with yourself. Esteban Ocon 5. Shows that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I think we're both reading the same book, my friend.
Let's go. Go on then, Colapinto. Damage. I just don't care, mate. Like, what is he do? Like, what's the point, mate? Finishes last. Okay, so look, I understand that there's slow car tax in this, but like, I don't know, mate. And even the bloody mistakes in qualifying, what for, chap? You just, listen. How can I give that dude more than a 4? And I think I've been generous with a 4, Shez. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing here. Like, sub him out. Put Jack doing. Jack's not doing too well back in. Surely 4. In fact, no. Scratch that 3 for Colapinto. I don't know what's going on, Shez. Talk to me, Jack.
I'm giving him I was going to go really low, but I'll give him a Stroll equaling 3. Again, like, back row qualifying, mistakes in quali, mistakes in the race. What did he do in the end? He got past Ocon in the end, which is I guess worthy of comment, if not praise. But a back row start, like last of all runners across both competitive qualifying sessions, when your teammate took what he had, learned what he could, and then went forwards. That has to be the aim of every Grand Prix driver, especially like in a rookie season. That's what he should be doing, right? Like learning and like using those learnings to go forward. That just didn't happen. And this is looking much more like the Colapinto of the middle of the season. So yeah, sorry.
What's the point, mate? Gabriel Bortoleto. Talk to me.
Don't you feel a bit sad about Bortoleto? Because we both listened to that Pelas Pistas conversation. And
It's
he
the
came
worst
in
thing that
with
ever happened to him.
hype, and I know. Yeah, ever since then it's just been like misery, hasn't it? But to be fair, like a lot of what happened this weekend was a result of his own doing in Vegas. But we can't mark him down for that here. Um, Decent in sprint quality, out-qualified Hulkenberg, which I think is even now is no mean feat. But in Grand Prix qualifying didn't happen. He was knocked out in Q2. In fact, both of them were knocked out in Q2, but Hulkenberg was on the cusp. And then Hulkenberg went out and really like pushed the envelope, got past Leclerc, had a go at Gasly, really tried to make a race of it. Bortoletto, I felt, did very little, but then what can you do from 19th? Not a lot, and he did not a lot. Although he did finish ahead of Albon. No, he didn't. He didn't finish anywhere near Albon. Sorry, that was a mistake.
Mate, we all make them apparently. Go on then, Gabriel Bortoletto. It's been chaos for the chap, hasn't it? So it's almost.
Did I even give him a mark? Sorry, five.
Go on.
Five.
That sounds about right to me, chap. If we're are we sprint race? Are we overweight the Grand Prix or we overweight the sprint? Because in the sprint he wasn't too bad, right? Gained a couple places, beat Nico Hulkenberg. 13th is where we fit. I don't hate him in the sprint, but I feel like you've got to be overweight. I mean, the sprint's only 8 points, so you've got to be overweight the race, the event where you can gain 25. And I just don't think I don't know, mate. What did he do? And again, I suppose, what did he do as a function of what could he do around this track, given the bloody penalty that he had to take for being such a numpty last Grand Prix? I'll give him a 5, chap.
I think there's going to be a few fives. I think there will be a few fives.
Speaking of which, mate, Sir Lewis Hamilton, ladies first on this one, Shez.
At some point, I'm just going to have to give way to you, aren't I? Fine. Lewis gets 5 from me as well. And yeah, I mean, getting knocked out in Q1, both competitive qualifying sessions is not good, especially when your teammate manages to get it into Q3. That car was a dog, though.
True.
And I guess the mitigating factor is that even Charles was basically just hanging on to the rear end of that thing. Like he was probably a bit more brave with it and just sort of going, sod it, I'm just going to put my foot down. Whereas Hamilton was a lot more circumspect, I think, with the way he went about his racing, and delivering a qualifying session. I think he just didn't want to spin the car. And unfortunately, that was the result in both sessions. Perhaps, as you always say, Cameron, that if this was 2007 Lewis, this is the clearest example, I think, of where 2007 Lewis would have handled the situation differently and just gone gung ho and gone for it. But that guy isn't here anymore. But what did all of the gung ho-ness that Charles put out there, what did that earn him in the end? 1 measly point. Is that what we're fighting for here? Anyway, that's a soliloquy on something completely different. In terms of outright performance, 5. He qualified way off his teammate in the end. It's about 3 tenths, I think, in Q1, and then just made zero impression in the race. So he finished about 7 or 8 seconds off of Albon in the end. At the end of the Grand Prix, it's just not what he went to Ferrari for. It's not what we were expecting to see from him at Ferrari. So 5.
Sad times, brother. A lot of people are saying you're being overly generous with a 5, that Lewis deserves a 1. SDW has it as a 2. Oh, the humanity. Go on then. Here's what I've written down as far as Sir Lewis Hamilton. I feel like I'm watching a sport retire a driver as versus a driver retiring from a sport. Feels like the end of days around here, not just for the performances on track, but for the demeanour off of it, mate. And I've got to, I know we don't normally mark for some of the soliloquy and the chatter, the interviews at the post-race scrum, but I'm like, what What are we doing, Lewis? All I know is this, Shez. I don't think Schumacher would talk like that, even on his worst days in like 96 through 99 when they weren't winning anything, because he realised there was advantage in kind of leading from the front and trying to be positive in that through action. Like just doing one of these with the slumped shoulders and looking like a sad puppy all the time. I don't think he's good. And then you overlay that with this as far as Lewis's performance out in Q1, both for the sprint quali and the race proper. Okay, you are right, Shez. The car is a dog. He doesn't have the reliability nor the rigidity as far as the suspension at the rear. He doesn't have anything. It is chaos as far as Lewis Hamilton is concerned, and it doesn't bode well. It's not looking good, bruv. It doesn't have the brakes, etc. But bloody Nora, gaining 5 places during the race is the only redeeming feature. I cannot, though I want to, I can't give Sir Lewis more than a 5, and I think 5 is generous, mate.
I think, look, the reason I'm giving him a 5 is because of what I've given to all of the other drivers behind him. I don't think he was worse than Bortoletto. I don't think he was worse than Esteban Ocon. You know, like so to give him less than that seems a little bit mean.
But he's Lewis Hamilton. Do you great? We're gonna have to have a conversation proper offline about how you. We're gonna have to define terms, aren't we? Like, do you gauge? Do you overweight Lewis Hamilton and mark him more harshly? It's like diving. You know, when they do a more ambitious dive, they can get a higher mark. But then likewise, I feel like they can get a lower mark. Like listen, I don't know. Because it's Lewis Hamilton, do you grade him more harshly than you do a rookie Bortoletto or a rookie Ollie? But we're going to have to talk offline, mate.
Sure. I like defining terms, but that would add a layer of complexity to this,
wouldn't it?
To an already complex equation.
Yes, it would indeed. Go on then, mate. Talk to me about Alex Albon.
Yeah, the problem is Albon only gets a 5 from me as well.
Harsh. Hunger Games.
Is it harsh though? Really, is it harsh? Like that was a car that was capable of getting a podium this weekend. Like somewhat fortuitously. I'm not gonna disagree with you on that. But in the hands of the other driver, it got a podium. So to finish up, what do you finish up? 11th, was it?
Yeah.
Was that where he qualified?
Yeah.
11th?
No, 11th, yeah.
Yeah, 11th. So just outside the points. He was nowhere near Carlos all weekend. Like nowhere near him. And he's the guy he's the Charles Leclerc in that team. Right?
Wow.
He's the guy that's
Is he though, really, chap?
well, in terms of he's been there, he's molded the team around him,
fair.
he's got their trust and all that. And yet Carlito has turned up season 1. And okay, he's had a rocky start, which is what we expected. It's even what he expected. Carlos with sort of ongoing marginal gains in that car has put himself in a position where he's now got 2 podiums, and the last 2 races has soundly outperformed his teammate. And does that reflect well on Carlos? Yes, of course it does. But it also reflects not so well on Alex. And as much as I love the guy, I really do. And like I totally bought into the whole, after the Red Bull thing, I knew what it was, I knew what I needed, and I went and did the things, and he was great. And I still think he's great, but this race was not his showcase. So he gets 5 from me.
I don't know, chap. I really like me some Alex Albon as well.
Me too.
I do like him, but I can't. I'd be lying if I say that I can't say I'm glad that Carlos Sainz is nobbling him now in the second half of the season. 64 points for Carlos Sainz in the driver's standing. Alex Albon has 73. Therefore, in the driver's standing, Carlos Sainz is 7 points away. I would love it for Carlos Sainz to nobble Alex Albon proper. But what am I going to give Alex? I just think I'm looking at him off the start. Hang on, how did he lose weight there? Wait there, mate. How did he lose so many places off the start? And he was on the clean side of the grid. Okay, there you go. There's the 5, mate. You don't lose 3 places off the start, and you're on the odd side, the clean side of the grid. I think that's unacceptable, mate. 5, just for that alone. I can't grade him on anything else. Started and finished in the same place in the sprint. No, that's a bit harsh. 6. I'm giving Alex Albon a 6, and then yeah, 6. Sticking to it, chap. Yuki Tsunoda, mate.
Who's going?
I can go. I'll be brief. I've given it. Can you spell swan song settings? It's apropos. Listen, I'll give Yuki Tsunoda. Do you remember when Yuki Tsunoda was it at Suzuka when he was like his first? There was a time, I think it was at Suzuka, when they just got very partisan, let's say, and voted him driver of the day. I feel like this is that. I feel like genuinely he deserves a cheeky 4, but I've given him a 6 for a couple of different reasons. If you out-qualify Max Verstappen, even in sprint, I think that's worthy of mention. Even if Max Verstappen is struggling with his setup and a very mercurial RB21, I think that's worthy of praise in the first instance. Scored points again in the Grand Prix proper. Don't hate that. But ultimately, Shez, it's a little bit... It's too little, too late, isn't it? Out in Q1 for the Grand Prix proper, not good enough. I think he's been not good enough for too long to warrant any semblance of an argument of keeping his seat going into 2026. Get him out. Hajar in. Yuki Tsunoda 6. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I remember you talking like this about Perez last year, and
True.
I feel like we would
True.
Perez, all is forgiven, really, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe not, Cha.
I'm giving him a 6, but mainly because he's the first person to out qualify Max Verstappen in any qualifying session of any kind since Baku last year. I mean, I didn't think I would ever see it again. I've actually marked the date on my calendar because it was that huge.
400 days or something.
I feel like it needs an anniversary in and of itself, like every year. I mean, literally just for that on its own, he gets a 6. But then he gets knocked out in Q1 again in Grand Prix proper, and he only really got a point in the end because people fell out ahead of him. Ironically, Isaac, sorry.
Too funny. Go
Yeah.
on. Go on.
6.
Go on then, chap. We're taking a very long time, as my little man would say. We're only up to where? P9. Give me a number for Liam Lawson, super quickly, mate.
Yeah, Liam gets a 6 off me. I think where Isaac got a really good 8. Lawson was a step behind all weekend, and well done for getting in the points, but he gets a 6.
If your teammate qualifies in 6th and you qualify in 12th, how can I give you more than a 6? That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Charles Leclerc, talk to me, Jack.
Charles, difficult. I'm going to give him a 7.
Oof. Say more.
Because, he, again, caveat, dog of a car. That first lap in the sprint was just ridiculous. Like, how he hung on to it, I have no idea. But it turns out even his right foot has limits, and he couldn't hang on to it in the end in Q3 Grand Prix qualifying. And he went around pretty high speed as well. That must have shaken him a little bit. But that was coming. That was definitely coming. He was throwing some wild shapes in that car this weekend, and he did what he could, and he drove very nicely. But ultimately, he did have a big fat spin. Didn't set a time in Q3. Starts off 10th, finishes 8th because Isaac finished off. Got a DNF. And he beat Lewis fairly soundly, which is why he gets a 7 and not a 5. But yeah, that's it.
I've given Charles Leclerc a 6 for the following reasons.
Wow.
Of course, you've got to caveat and normalise for his performance because of that crazy wild horse of a car. It's not acceptable, is it, that Ferrari give him and Sir Lewis the best driver pairing on the grid, some would say, that car. Although you say best driver pairing on the grid, and where they're in the constructors now. Nowhere, chap, which is chaos. We'll have that conversation another day. However, sixth, something about if you talk a big game, if Carlos Sainz, your ex-teammate, by the way, the last driver to win an F1 race in a Ferrari, if you talk a big game about you're going to do this and you're going to do that, I'm going to do the same to Carlos Sainz in the race, and you don't do it, then I can't mark you higher than a 6. I can't, because you're a big man in groups. Charles Leclerc, I get that the car is a struggle to deal with and you're doing your best, chap, but you made a cheeky mistake in the sprint. That you were making cheeky mistakes all the way through free practice. Cheeky mistake in sprint quali I've got down here. And normally, Charles Leclerc, so brilliant is your guy, Shez, modern day Journalese. Normally, 9 times out of 10, he does a sound, sterling job of taming for the raging bull that is the SF25. Normally, he wins that battle. And I think he lost it at Losail this race weekend. And that's why I'm giving Charles Leclerc, your guy, modern day Journalese, a very generous 6. Fernando Alonso, talk to me, Joe.
Oh, I think you're being unfair. But anyway, Fernando for me also gets a 7, a decent 7, like a good 7. Middle of the road, I know, but it's still a 7. And he would have, I think he would have got an 8, but for that spin that cost him
chaos,
a couple of places, right? But yeah, I mean, he's doing things with that car that he probably shouldn't do, but he's pretty good around here. Like every season we've raced at Losail, he's done things with the car that it shouldn't really do, and to hold up basically the entire grid for half the race. But
truly train.
But mate, we've said this before, isn't it? People are just catching on. It is the Alonso train. If you are a front runner and you need a gap to fall into, you're always looking at where Fernando is, because Fernando is holding up everybody.
Lando was very lucky. I was kind of hoping that Alonso for a second there was going to steal Lando Norris's lunch money. He was very close. A slow pit stop, and I think Lando would have got round him ultimately.
Fernando, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I'm sure we're going to come to it.
Go on then. You know what? We haven't got time. Fernando Alonso, I'll give him I think I'm giving him a generous 7, ultimately by dint of the fact that he's outperformed Lance Stroll, his teammate, to the tune of how much? 10 places. I don't hate that chap. 7th, finished 7th as versus... Yeah, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. George Russell, shall I go first here, mate?
Yeah, go on. I'm interested.
I've given him a 7. If only because I've turned a blind eye to whatever happened in the race and the fact that he got outpaced by Antonelli by dint of him starting on the dirtier side of the grid. And I'm just paying attention to the fact that he was the meat in a McLaren sandwich over the course of the sprint race. For that and for that only, I've got to give King George Russell of Kingsley and Norfolk a 7 out of 10.
I think George would have been a shoe-in for a 9 if it hadn't been for that first lap. So yeah, he drops a couple of marks for that as well. So I'd give him a 7 too. And the problem is, like, I get that this place is not conducive to overtaking, but I mean, what track is these days? So yeah, even with that caveat, he never looked like he was getting past Hadjar at any point in that race. After he got overtaken by him in the pit stops, and the fact that he was that far back with Sainz and Antonelli and Alonso in front of him was all his own doing. So yeah, he was probably the faster Mercedes driver this weekend. Not probably, he was a step ahead of his rookie teammate, but that was his first lap just wasn't good enough. And he made a meal. Well, it wasn't just a meal. He just never got past Isaac Hadjar. So 7.
There is you are aware, Shez, just as a footnote, that you need a second as far as your delta if you're going to make any overtakes around Losail. You are aware of that, right?
Yep. What's your
Just as
point?
a footnote. Just as a footnote, mate. I just
Mercedes
wanted to.
versus a Racing Bulls.
I mean,
That's
but they're
all I
not
want to
slow,
say.
are they?
It's a
Look at, but hang on, chap.
Mercedes.
Look at the qualifying times. They were only, well, to be fair, no, you do make a fair point.
And George is good around here. You know, he says it outright. I love this track, which fills me with dread.
But
But he was also gone.
hang on, mate. If you need a second,
Mm.
George qualified on a 19.6. Hajar qualified on a 20.1. That's only half a second in absolute terms performance.
Half a second.
But you
in
need it.
absolute
But you need
performance.
a second to make any overtake stick around the sail. It's impossible, mate. It may as well be Monaco. It's. I think. Am I going to raise? No. You know what, mate? I'm not going to raise George Russell. What are you saying, Shez? Seven.
Go with seven.
Yeah, concur, sir. Antonelli.
Yeah, Kimi also gets a seven from me. Because he found himself in a good position, but that wasn't completely his doing. He was a step behind his teammate in qualifying across both qualifying sessions. In fact, in sprint, where was he in sprint? Wasn't he like eighth or ninth or something? He was pretty far back when George was all the way up in third. So yeah, I think he
Sixth
there
in
you
the
go.
sprint.
Right, and George was third. Am I right?
Second chap in the sprint. Remember,
Geez, second.
meeting a McLaren sandwich.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Look at that. Like I really should do my homework. So Anthony was a step behind, and he ended up in a fortuitous position. I thought he was going to do what he has done for the past two races, both in Vegas and in Brazil, and keep a quicker car behind him. I thought that was like Kimi's thing now, but it didn't happen. It didn't. I can't believe it. He cracked. And look, let's get this out of the way right now, yeah, because like none of the nonsense he got online was at all deserved.
Concur.
And I think GP and Helmut Marko have got a lot to answer for when it comes to that. But the fundamental complaint is still there that I can't think it's anything other than cracking under pressure. He'd had a lockup, I think, even before that wide moment happened. So yeah, it was kind of coming. I think he was absolutely at the limits of what he could do in a car and on a track that he probably wasn't as comfortable with as his teammate, and that's why he gets the seven from me.
I've given Kimi Antonelli a 6.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, in positives, nailing George, as you're supposed to on the clean side of the grid off the line is gangster, right? But I feel like sprint quali wasn't great. And I feel like ultimately the only thing that people will take away from this Grand Prix is what happened on the penultimate lap, right? And that Kimi Antonelli was set up to do exactly what he did to Max Verstappen at Interlagos in the Dynamo. I was hyping him up. Shez, I was like, this is Kimi Antonelli's coming out party. This is a vindication for Toto that this dude is the next Ayrton Senna. A defensive masterclass from the dude. There is no way that this Lando Norris chap will be able to get... Oh, wait. And for that disappointment, chap, I've got to give him a 6. Lando Norris, ladies first.
Honestly, if I could call you a rude name on this on this channel, I would.
It's an open forum, so.
Yeah, as if it is. Yeah, Lando gets a. Oh, I'm so in between. I'm going to give him a 6. And I feel like if you gave him less, I would probably agree with you. Yeah, okay. He was a step behind his teammate all weekend, and that in and of itself wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because Oscar is a demon around here. But it's the mistakes, sprint quali, sprint race, Grand Prix quali. He couldn't improve because he bowled in too fast into turn two. And then in the race itself, the start, we're back to this again. The thing that we thought was cured, and it wasn't even Max alongside him this time. Okay, Max was the guy that took advantage of it in the end, but it seems to be that if Max is just somewhere in the orbit, he succumbs. And then his pace, like, okay, I take the point that the McLaren doesn't get the DRS advantage that every other car does, but up against Kimi, just it wasn't making any inroads whatsoever. And where his teammate, first lap out of the pits, he's
Bang.
got right. He's got the Mercedes in front of him, nails
Bang.
him into turn one, man. Like there was no hesitation, and I feel like on top of the fact that the pace wasn't there, the standard Lando killer instinct wasn't there either. Did I say 6? Jeez, man, I'm gonna give him a 5.
Of
Sorry,
course,
Lando.
of course. Easy G, cover your ears, mate, because it's going to get techier than techie things. Here's what I've said about Lando Norris, and I'll give the rating at the end. You let Albon through. You understand that we're racing at Losail and that there is advantage in clean air, particularly in qualifying. And you're complaining after the fact about how you didn't have a clean track in front of you. It had nothing to do with the timing of you being let out onto the track. It was all about letting Alex Albon through. So what are you talking about, Lando? You've got to take some accountability in the clutchiest of clutch moments. Had we convinced for a second, Lando, that it was Lando Norris 2.0, that you were reformed as far as your ability to deliver under pressure? And then during free practice, I counted 3 offs. And then you've got the Q3 error. Like, what's going on? And if that weren't enough, Shez, I'm watching this dude's racecraft, because again, Lando is a brilliant racer when he's had his Weetabix. Just go and see him go down to turn 1 at Mexico, 800 meters, gets his elbows out, so he can do it. He has it in his locker. But yeah, again, when Max Verstappen is breathing down his neck, just as per Las Vegas a couple of weeks prior, or 1 week prior, it's like he's I'll tell you what, Shez, let's double click on this. Because off the line, you would expect him to get got. I almost feel like Lando Norris was playing defence, aware that he kind of just needed to accrue some points. Do you know what I mean? Did an Alan Prost thing. But then he goes to have a nut. Did you see him? I want to say, was it turn 3 or turn 4? He goes to have a nobble at Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen pins him to the inside. He does exactly what Lando Norris should have done to Max Verstappen in Las Vegas as far as defending the inside. Defends the inside with his life, and at the very last moment assumes the geometric racing line and takes more speed through the turn than Lando. I just think this. I just don't think
He's built for it. Say it.
he's just got a mistake in his lock at the quick. He's just got an error, hasn't he? Not an error.
It's just too many, though, Cameron. It wasn't just
over
one
the
error.
course of the
It was
week.
just,
Yeah,
it was
that's the
just,
problem.
yeah,
That is the problem. The frequency
cumulative
of them. Yeah, no, it's not a good look. I can't give him more than a 5. I can't give him more than a 5, chap.
Championship leader, yeah, the guy that we're saying is favourite for the championship. We're given a 5 in the penultimate race.
Insane, chap. It's the weight. You know what? More than anything, chap. All the other things can fade to black. I think the mistakes in FP1 and whatever, they're all forgivable. Even the Q3, I can forgive him. But I just think it was almost poetic. Not the way that Max nobbled him off the start. But I want to say is it turn 3? It's either turn 3 or turn 4. The way that Max defended the inside line with his life, just as Lando should have done at Las Vegas. And then at the very last minute, assumed the geometric line to make sure he could take the minute. I'm like, mate, if Lando Norris doesn't go back and study that between now and next, that's all that he should be watching,
He
mate.
says he does. He says he does, but why does he?
He has been doing, chap, because you saw the race restart, how he did Max's his snake charmer movement before.
Just can't do it to Max, though. That's the problem. It's every time Max is anywhere near him. Like, if he's got Charles up alongside him, yeah, all good. If he's got Kimi Antonelli up alongside him, yeah, no worries. I'll take the line I want. But as soon as Max is breathing down his neck, bang, he just turns into jelly. Is that a thing? Yeah.
I don't think he can. I think we're overcomplicating a bit, mate. The way that Max does that, Max is looking in his mirrors and he's got some like I don't know, chap. He's got like crazy. I don't know. He's looking in his mirrors, but he still knows in front. He's using his peripheral right. I don't think he's actually looking in his mirrors, but I think because he's on there so often and 10,000 hours, he just. We'll get to Max, I suppose. But no, Lando 5, disappointing, mate. Particularly since this is the Lewis Hamilton tax, right? Lando can do this SH1T, Shez. He can do it. We've seen him do it recently, even when Max is around sometimes. But then he doesn't do it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Lando knows 5, and I think that's generous. As we've just characterised the race, I think he's lucky to get a 5. Lando is. Carlito Sainz Jr. Talk to me, Shez.
I'm gonna give him. Shall I give him the rating at the end? I thought Carlos was excellent this weekend. Like this is a culmination of a huge amount of hard work from him over the course of this season. Like to overcome Albon, who Vowles has talked about as a future world champion. He said we want to win with Alex. To come into that team, new power unit. New way of working, a team that's building. He's used that opportunity and he's ended up in this position now. It's 2 Grand Prix weekends on the trot. And look, yes, you can argue that he benefited from McLaren's mistake. I mean, we're doing driver ratings, so we're not really talking about McLaren's mistake, which is the massive elephant in the room, really, isn't it?
True.
And he did benefit from that. But he soundly outqualified Alex this weekend. Like both sessions, there was just no question who was most on top of that car. And he was calling strategy again as usual from the car.
Love it.
Right? It's just the package when it comes together for Carlos, it really comes together and he gets these results and you can count on him to get those results. So I'm going to give him a 10. Yeah,
I don't hate it, chaff. I'd love to argue against, but I don't hate it. I too. Carlos gets a 9. Everybody says we're being too harsh on Lando. That 5's at least a couple of points too low.
A couple.
Potentially. A lot of people have 6s, but I digress. I've given Carlos a 10 also. If not just because he shouldn't be there. That's a Stellantis, whatever it's called. Stellatison? I can't remember.
I don't even know what that is.
Atlantis or whatever their title sponsor. I don't know how to pronounce
Atlassian.
it. There we go. We got there in the I get mixed up between that and Stellantis. They want to be a bit more distinguished in their.
Mate, I only know this because Atlassian also do some IT for my workplace.
There you go. There you go. Inside the knowledge. Listen, I've given Carlos a 10, if only because he shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
Williams, of course, he's been a benefactor of some. Not insubstantial McLaren ineptitude. Of course he has. But yet and still, mate. Super quick in quali, 7th. Don't hate that. And then he's done what he needed to do. I watched him into turn 1 as I was studying for this video. And I thought he was quite conservative. But that's what the smart ones can do, right? They understand when it's time to pick fights. And when it's not time to pick fights. I thought that Lando had done that going into turn 1, but then again, watching it back, I'm not sure that was true. So he's patient into turn 1, benefactor of some McLaren ineptitude, but then again, Shez, sometimes in the weird and wacky world that is F1, fortune favours the brave. And I mean, if you're 8 places down the road from your teammate, and that's Alex Albon, then proof positive. That's it. That's my story. Carlos Sainz Jr. 10 out of 10, and I'm sticking to it. Oscar Piastri, talk to me, sir.
Mate, I was going to give
go first.
Yeah. No,
I keep throwing to you first, and
it's your turn. Go.
That's not fair on you. Go on then. Oscar Piastri was pant-wettingly quick, as near as makes no difference all weekend. And as well, you might expect him to. Every time he goes around Qatar, he always podiums, and he nailed it. He was up for this. And again, Sector 2, Sector 3 suits him perfectly with the long duration, long radius, medium to high speed turns. And you've got to thread the needle and combine them. And that suits Oscar Piastri's very binary style of throttle and brake inputs. He did nothing wrong, apart from, Shez, drive for a numpty team in that McLaren. You just can't even write it, chap. The dude was pitch perfect. Sprint qualifying, nailed it. Qualifying for the race proper, nailed it. Sprint race, nailed it. Grand Prix proper, nailed it. The only thing you can pitch as a potential criticism is that he wasn't robust enough in his challenge not to get pitted on the bloody fateful lap 7 and get a cheeky free pit stop. But I've still given him a 10. I've maybe a 9.5 because I think if that were Max would just put into the pits and be like, you know what, just service my tyres, lads. Like, you're not going to service me, then I'm not moving. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes you've got to get your strategic elbows out. And I get the sense that Lando, look at his Freudian slip, that Oscar's just a bit too, that he's almost a bit too nice. That he wants to take a leaf out of the book of his manager's nemesis Sebastian Vettel, finger boy, and just multi 21 at some point. Do you know what I mean? So that you draw some lines in the sand and stamp your fist on a table, just like Toto did at bloody Abu Dhabi that time. You just got to show teeth a little bit sometimes, and I think Oscar probably didn't and should have done that at the Qatar Grand Prix this weekend. 9 or 10.
Really,
even.
you're going to give him a 9?
No, I gave him a 10. I apologise. I've
Yeah,
got 10 written down in front of me. Go for it.
So I had him on a 9 all day for exactly the same reason as you. I thought, his pace, his racecraft was all great, but I criticised him in my head a little bit for not calling for a pit stop at that point, and even if and I was kind of hoping that he would have asked for it, and even if McLaren had said no, at least you've got that in the back of your head.
True.
That he'd asked for the pit stop, and he never asked for it. That's why he was on a 9 all day. But then he did call the strategy later on in the race, saying rather than bring me in on lap 49, bring me in earlier, give me a chance of catching this guy. And I think he did what he could. I mean, Oscar did absolutely nothing wrong. And I would actually just looking at the telemetry for him, I would say that I don't think that this was a track that he excelled at purely because it favours his sort of hit and hope, commit and hope, whatever style of turning in. If you look at what he did in turn 4, there was a really nice overlap between throttle and brake inputs. So he was starting to use feeling. And it's just a shame that work and the mistake-free, perfect weekend he had in terms of his driving wasn't better rewarded. And for that, I'm going to give him a 10.
Safak says Oscar lost the race because they didn't pit him. That's all. Facts, says John. 9 only because he didn't shake Zach's hands harder. I'd argue that you give him a 9 because he shook Zach's hand. Yeah. Let me say this. So Charles, you're a legend. Crying Fernando, I see you. Let me say this about Oscar very quickly. There wasn't really a point, after he sussed out what was going on with the strategy, there wasn't really a point at all in the Grand Prix as a Max Verstappen fan, Stan, come evangelist, that I felt threatened until GP came over the radio and said, this time, Max, it's Oscar that's coming for you. They've told Oscar, he told us a bit about a pit stop, but it's Oscar. And Max didn't even respond. And I was like, okay, so that, if anyone is ready to take this, given the weekend that he's had, if anyone poses a threat of the material variety to Max Verstappen winning 25 points here, it would be Oscar Piastri. I thought that was worthy of note. Maximilian Verstappen, foreseen to be 5-time champion. Just talk to me.
Wow, the blasphemy there. I'll give you the mark at the end again because it's we do this every week, but it's worth at least once in a weekend highlighting how incredible he was.
Was he? I thought he was rubbish, mate. Didn't do anything. What are you talking about?
The sprint quali actually
fair,
right?
True.
That's the place to dock a mark if you're going to dock a mark. But yeah, I think it would be churlish of me to do that, just because I think this whole weekend, both inside and outside of the car, he has just walked that line so brilliantly. Like, his comments were incendiary beforehand, but they were
Pointed.
delivered in such a nonchalant way, where it's basically like, yeah, yeah, I would have dominated in that car. It's stupid to suggest anything else, you know, and even all of the other stuff surrounding that was just pitch perfect. And he jumps in the car, and other than sprint quali, he doesn't put a foot wrong. He is absolutely metronomic, and the reason I haven't docked him a mark for what happened earlier in the weekend is because, did you hear his radio conversation with GP at the end of sprint quali? Just as they're about to embark on their final lap, GP sitting there telling him don't lose track position, and Max is basically like, yeah, all right, man, I get it. That's fundamental, like, no brain stuff. Obviously, I know that. It's not that obvious because Lando clearly didn't know it, did he? He just rolled out the red carpet.
Ah,
But Max understood that, but was like, look, the more important thing for us to talk about is why the heck this car is so rubbish right now that I'm about to qualify sixth. And he's able to verbalize exactly what it is that car needed. And off we go into actual qualifying. And he puts himself in a position where he can give Lando Norris the heebie-jeebies. All he has to do is get somewhere in the zone, and bang, he's there. And yeah, like, once he was in front, it was game over. Like, it doesn't really matter what anybody else does at that point. When you give him a sniff, it's kind of all over. Like I said last week, he is Forrest Gump. Not Forrest Gump. No, Forrest Gump would make him sound awful. He is Goodwill Hunting in Formula One terms right now. It's just like, yeah, just privileged to watch at the moment. Very, very good. 10 out of 10.
he's not bad, this Verstappen fella. Initially, I had 9, but you've convinced me, mate, that I'm being too hard. The mark that I would dock him is for sprint quali, but you caveat that with the fact that the car wasn't underneath him, nor was the setup correspondingly. Let me read out this. I listened to Bernie Collins post-race, and she said something that I thought was quite pertinent as far as the way that the race played out. The Verstappen, quote, does the homework in the background because he knew under a lap 7 safety car how he was expecting the rest of the race to play out. He wasn't on the radio saying, what do you think the plan is from now? Because he knew what the plan was from then, and it is just so it. And that is just someone who properly understands what the strategic implications of everything that happens. Not everyone has that ability to, Shay, Bernie Collins. I think she's put it really well there. He's just he's got his fingers on the pulse this match. So it's not just about the speed and the metronomic execution. It's broader than that. It's more all in. Of course, he had Hannah Schmitz, and she had her finger right on the strategic pulse this Grand Prix, and for that she deserves a lot of props. But it's more. I think you do Max a disservice just to talk about, not you. One does Max Verstappen a disservice to talk just about speed and racecraft. It's bigger than that. I've written down in my notes that the clean side of this track start was chaos, but then he pins Lando Norris in a millisecond. He doesn't move back to the geometric racing line until the very last moment, right, which is always chaos. And again, the exact antithesis to what Lando did in Las Vegas. Again, it was almost the mirror image. Lando needs to watch that and learn from his mistakes and continuously improve. Tyre management, different level on the final stint. I've written that was biblical. He wasn't perfect. Because the quali lap, I'd argue both quali. I think the quali lap proper. When I saw the purple sector, I was like, okay, he's on it. But then sector 2, sector 3 is always going to be difficult to be quicker than the McLarens. But I mean, he's not bad. Keeps the championship alive. Does everything he needs to do, and then overlay that with his linguistic performance over the course of the race weekend. Mate. He said in the first instance that if I'd had an MCL 3.9, I would have won the championship a long time ago. Nando tries to clap back and says, well, Red Bull do like to talk a bit of nonsense. And Max Verstappen claps back yet again and says, mate, I only talk facts. and then the race happens, and which one of their arguments is evidence best? I don't know. He's all right, that Max Verstappen fella. He'll win a couple races and championships here on in. Methinks is not too bad. But I digress. Shez, you're a legend, mate. I think we've got to go and film another video or something, haven't we?
Yes, sir. Please come watch.
Go on then, Shez. Do you want to intro it or outro it?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is turning into a long night of chat about Qatar, but yeah. Please come Thai GP on the YouTubes, as Cameron would say it. We're going to do a quick live stream there as well, just to catch up on the race. Lots to talk about.
So my old mate Shez is a bit too humble in his soliloquy sometimes. So allow me to intro/outro it properly. From here, if you've got time and are that way inclined, get yourself over to Tired GP, tired with a Y, because me and Shez are going to argue about some F1 centric. No, pull at some F1 centric threads. We'll be on in the next couple of minutes, and it's going to get techier than techie things. You guys are legends, each and every single one of you. I appreciate you to the moon and back. Why? Because you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here listening to myself and the A-side talk about driver ratings. Between now and next time, the prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.